So I came across this video that claimed scientists found a 2,000-year-old letter from Jesus. And many of you clicked on this video to find out the answer to this simple question. Is this letter from Jesus a viral myth? Is this claim a viral myth, or is it legit? Did they provide any real evidence? And I'm going to give you the information that quickly that you came to this video for. And they didn't provide any real evidence. Okay, they didn't provide any real evidence. Now, if you stay tuned, what I will do is provide a couple of things. First, I'm going to summarize the video. This is a 20-minute video, so I'm going to summarize the key points of the video. And within this, also within this video, I'm going to provide some information, right? Okay, so here's the information that I'm going to provide. I'm going to provide the various claims, because they made a couple of claims within this larger claim. I'm going to talk about the information they did provide. I'm going to talk about the objective epistemological analysis. What do we know and how do we know it? I'm also going to talk about what Joe Rogan, what they mentioned Joe Rogan's response was to this claim. I'm going to talk about the let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 claims that they made within this video. We're going to do some fact checking, as well as point out the logical flaws and red flags in the video. And let's see, because I'm going over my notes here. Did this video cite any sources, reputable or not? Did this video provide any proof or evidence? So we'll talk about what they did share and what they didn't. And then I'll provide the list of questions that should be asked for objective scrutiny of this claim. Now, lastly, I'm going to talk about where I'm going to be holding this information for this particular claim, as well as other claims that I'm going to come across and research. Okay, so that way you guys, a link to this application will be in the description, so you have free access to it. You have free viewing access. For those who may be interested in becoming a contributor, just DM me, reach out to me, and let's chat. Okay, so I'm going to hold all the information that I believe is pertinent to any claim within this application. So let's go over this. So, for example, we have the claim title, which is Jesus' letter. We have the claim text, claim category, claim type, the primary source, so people will have quick access to the where this information came from, the primary source author, the evidence provided, whether evidence was provided or not, the evidence description, external sources, external consensus, verification status, notes, and I'm going to delete this field, but epistemic reliability score obviously is a 1 because they didn't provide any real evidence whatsoever. Any tags, the reviewer name, obviously this is me because I'm reviewing it, but if there are other contributors in the future, your name would appear there, or your name would appear here. The date it was reviewed, related evidence, related contributor, and this is really key. So questions that should be asked, so the questions I'm going to talk about that should be asked is going to be in the record itself, as well as logical flaws and red flags, information, and the fact checking and the objective analysis. So all of this information is going to be available in this record, and it has a nice view. Let me move myself out the way. And so you can just simply click to open up the record, and then you can go through it and see the information. And obviously, contributors can add to this information, or you can leave a comment, and we can interact that way as well. So let's get into it. Now, I created a script, so I'm going to not follow the script exactly, but I do want to highlight some key points. Now, for example, all of my videos, what I plan to do is provide the value that you came to the video for right away. So you'll get that, no time wasted. All right. For the remainder of the video, it's just going to be more depth or additional insights and information. So you can always come back or check the timestamps and go from there. So on your screen, right, is the claim that could potentially rewrite history, right? We talked about the title. Scientists supposedly, well, they claim scientists supposedly found a 2,000-year-old letter written by Jesus himself to his brother James, sealed in wax and hidden in a cave in Israel. And Joe Rogan talked about it. Sounds wild, I know. So let's let's ask a simple question. Where's the evidence? So setting the claim, the video, which obviously has some virality to it because it has over 800,000 views. The viral video tells a beautiful story. I'll give them their props on that. A cave near Mount Arbel, a tiny scroll miraculously preserved, written in Aramaic, carbon dated to around 30 to 50 AD. They mentioned 30 AD. Jesus was reported to have died 30 to 33 AD. Addressed to Yaakov, James the Just, which is apparently Jesus's brother. And the narrator suggests the unthinkable. This might be the first and only letter ever written by Jesus himself. Now, it's emotional, it's cinematic, and the quotes are powerful. Let what is loud grow still. This is one of the quotes. Forgive those who use my name too quickly. They are not thieves, they are hungry. So here's what's happening in this particular letter is, and I have a tool to give the key points here. So here's the discovery context. This letter was embodied in a cave, blah, blah, blah. And it's suggesting it was intentionally hidden rather than lost to prevent public misinterpretation of its personal content. Now, basically, in the letter, Jesus is expressing a concern about his, again, this is all the claim. So I'm just speaking from the claim point of view. They're claiming that in the letter that Jesus is speaking to his brother, expressing concerns about being misinterpreted, misunderstood, and also that his teachings and message will be weaponized. Okay, so that's the point of view that's provided in the video. Okay, so the letter is addressed to his brother, Jesus's brother. It's written in a personal, intimate tone rather than formal theology or scripture, revealing Jesus as a human and burdened with emotional honesty rare in ancient texts. So the content expresses slow, aching awareness of what is to come, a hope that someone close might understand, and a compassionate, patient perspective of misinterpretation, described as quiet humanity rather than fire and brimstone. Now, the cultural impact. So Joe Rogan's reaction emphasized the letter's personal, intimate tone and sparked discussion about what else may have been lost from history, creating one of the most unexpectedly emotional moments in podcast history. And the discovery is characterized as containing something far more dangerous than prophecy, a quiet humanity, a whisper rather than a sermon that challenges both believers and skeptics to reconsider historical narratives. And I'm all for this. Let me give you a brief insight as to why I began this journey. Because for me, spiritually, I've been on this spiritual journey for truth, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding for about 20 plus years now. And based on my experiences, is what led me to dive deeper and deeper. My life experiences, that is, to inspire me to dive deeper and deeper into this research, this journey overall, as far as like what is true and what isn't true. How do we know? For things, for example, like there's plenty of claims. Like I studied the Holy Bible from front to back, read all 66 books multiple times, took ample notes, bought the resources, the Vine's dictionary, the Strong's Concordance, every resource that you can possibly think of. And once all of that information was made available online, easily searchable with powerful search tools and features, man, it was over. So I took serious notes, kind of like Apollo in the book of Acts. All right, so he was real serious. And just if you ever read Acts and you read about Apollos, you met your boy. That's me. That's all me. I think we embody the same spirit. Now, the key for me though is as I began to dive deeper, more and more questions arose in my thought process. Like, okay, so these are the claims about God, what his will is and plan and things of that nature and his character and all of that. And I started to ask myself, like, okay, this is cool and that's great, but where's the personal introduction? Where's the personal introduction and verification of these claims? God is all knowing. Okay, where's the personal introduction with God to support these claims? I never received it. Okay, they say that you'll receive the Holy Spirit, you'll get this and all of these different things. And I'm like, okay, that's all fine and dandy. And I went through the whole process and I'm like, oh, okay. Now I studied to understand, okay, so when you receive the Spirit, what do you receive? And here's what's critical for me. The Spirit is supposed to guide you to all truth, right? All truth, and reveal to you that which is hidden. And so one of the things or quotes in the Bible that is from Jesus. It says, "Those who worship me must worship the Father in spirit and in truth." In spirit and in truth. And so when you receive the Spirit, you're supposed to receive this inherent desire for truth, okay, and understanding, and that's what I've been on. And so when I'm just like, okay, so these questions aren't answered in the Bible. Okay, so it's just like, how do I know that God is all knowing? I haven't had a personal interaction with God for God, him or herself, to tell me, hey, I'm all knowing. Now, if I look at this world and I believe that there's a God who, one true God that created this world, what do I see based on my five senses and my ability to think critically? I see a high level of intelligence, right? Boom, got it. That's what I see. But that doesn't mean all knowing. That doesn't mean all knowing, okay? Just more intelligent than I am, obviously, to create this entire system, the whole entire cosmos. But that's just an example. I just wanted to provide like segue and not segue, provide a quick sidebar as to what I was thinking and what led me on this journey. So for me, everything is about objectively scrutinizing every single claim. Okay, I do this within myself, within my own thought process, to identify gaps in knowledge, wisdom, understanding, to identify biases, blind spots, you name it. So this is what's been critical. So I've had to tear down an entire foundation of my thought process, because you run into what's described psychologically speaking as cognitive dissonance when you come into conflict with things that you believe, and things terms of reality doesn't align, and it creates this tension and this uncomfortable conflict, right? So had to tear down everything and start from scratch and say, what do I know? And what have I been able to observe? What have I been able to prove? What evidence exists? And I also recognize that there may be many questions that will go unanswered in my lifetime, or just in life in general. Okay. So I had to also that was difficult. I had to come to grips with that as well, and accept that, like, yo, I'm on this journey, but I may not ever get answers to many of these questions. But if there's one thing I can tell you guys, that if the Bible is true, then I am definitely on the right path in terms of worshiping God in spirit and in truth. So in my conscience, in my mind, in my being, that's all I'm focused on. There's a proverb in the Bible that says, if it costs you everything, get understanding. I'm telling you, there's literally various scriptures throughout the Bible that really highlights this aspect. So you can believe it and accept it to be true. That's one thing. But if someone was to ask me if I know it to be true, that's an entirely different answer. The answer is no. Like, do I believe there's a God? Yes. Do I know if there's a God? No. Do I believe that Jesus is the Son of God? Yes. Do I know that he's the Son of God? No. I understand the reports and the evidence that he existed, and he was in fact nailed to the cross. All of that, in terms of the evidence. And because I'm getting older and I can't remember all the details, that's why I decided to create this application to start storing that, so I can easily keep track of the information that I've studied, researched, the resources, cite the sources, so that everything is transparent from my end. All right. So with that said, this video did not provide much evidence. So let's take a look at it. Here's the problem. When you go looking for actual evidence of this discovery, you basically hit a wall. So I did some quick research, because I just watched the video today. I didn't see any press release. So what don't we have? No press release from the Israel Antiquities Authority shown or cited in the video. No museum catalog entry provided in the video. No peer-reviewed paper provided in the video or in the description. No named excavation director, and nothing in serious biblical archaeology outlets. So what do we find? YouTube channels, Instagram reels, and forums arguing over whether the video is clickbait. The real discovery they're writing on is this. It says, but there is a real discovery behind some of the imagery. In 2024, scholars identified a 4th, 5th century Greek papyrus fragment in a German library as the earliest known copy of the infancy Gospel of Thomas, an apocryphal text about Jesus' childhood. Now that fragment is stored, we have information that fragment is stored in Hamburg, not in a cave in Israel, dated to the 4th, 5th century, not in the 1st, and is an extract from a well-known apocryphal gospel, not a personal letter from Jesus. So what are the red flags? Let's stack the red flags for a second. Extraordinary claim, but zero peer-reviewed evidence. Okay. Supposed experts with names that don't map to real traceable scholars. No lab report, no carbon dating data, and no catalog number. visuals lifted from totally different manuscripts and different piece, like you can see this is from like clips of different illustrations or depictions of Jesus from popular films. Let's see, and let's talk about this though. There's great storytelling, but it's not archaeology. Okay. Let's see. Healthy skepticism. Could a genuine first century Aramaic letter from Jesus to James someday be discovered? In theory, I believe so. I'm okay with the possibility of all of this, right? So, if all of these claims, definitely there might be a possibility unless we can prove otherwise. So until there's evidence, I'm like, yeah, there's no evidence, so it's just information. It's just a claim, and that's simply what it is. I'm not going to make decisions based off of this information or this claim. All right, so I'm not making any judgments. I'm not attacking it, and I'm not defending it. Same as the Bible. I'm not attacking it. I'm not defending it because I don't have the evidence to support or disprove it. Now, healthy skepticism. Healthy skepticism. So, could a genuine. I'm sorry, but if that ever happens, we won't hear about it first from a channel built on dramatic voiceovers and zero citations. What we will see is named excavation teams, multiple independent labs, a flood of academic articles and expert debate, as well as institutions staking their reputations on the data. Now, I've been watching various documentaries on faith, religion, humanity, the evidence, what we know about, what humans know today about the world, from a scientific point of view, philosophical, and so on. And the real, true documentaries that's providing information, they will cite these sources. Like, we will have the people there and their institutions, like all of that, so you can fact check all of this information. So I recommend being careful when coming across information like this on social media. So until then, this letter from me, from my point of view, this letter from Jesus belongs in the category of viral myth, spiritually interesting, maybe, but not historically grounded. All right. So on this channel, I want to say that if a claim doesn't come with sources, I don't just repeat it, I pressure test it. Okay. If you've seen other Jesus artifact stories and want them put under a microscope, drop them in the comments. And if you have actual citations, excavation reports, journal articles, lab data, post them as well. Evidence-based corrections are always welcomed here. Okay, so what I'm doing on my channel is trying to pull all of this information together, make it seamless, make it effective, make it efficient, because it's a lot. It's a lot, and it's very, very frustrating to get to the truth. And what I realize in closing is that, well, maybe I was gonna go. Okay, so before I close, I'm gonna go. Let's do 10. Let's say about 10 or 15 more minutes to go over the objective analysis, the questions, and I went over a few logical red flags and flaws. Let's see. And a few pieces of information. Okay, yeah, and then I'll add my closing statement. So let's do the questions first. Questions that should be asked for objective scrutiny. Because I was going to say about, man, it seems like it appears, based on the evidence, and there's studies to support this, that we've been conditioned through various mediums that has, along with human nature, has allowed us to stop thinking critically about everything. Plus, it's pretty stressful on the mind, on the brain. Okay, so it's easier and it's more comfortable to just accept certain things or many claims at face value. Just be like, all right, whatever. But we're going to keep a healthy level of skepticism and perform skeptical research. And here's some of the questions we should ask. All right. So from the archaeology and provenance point of view, who excavated the scroll? All right. Name the excavation director, institution, permit number. Where's the official report? Is it peer reviewed? Is there a peer review article? Is there an official release from the IAA, Israel Antiquities Authority? Is there a museum press release? Number 3, is there exact location and context? Which cave? Which layer? Stratum? Associated finds? Any pottery, coins, textiles? All of this creates the context, right? And so when you just pull something out of thin air, I don't want to say thin air, but if you just say, here's the claim, boom, and then don't provide any much context, it gets crazy. So is there a chain of custody? From the cave to the lab to conservators to current repository, is there any gaps? Is the physical object accessible to scholars? So is there an inventory number, collection, city, and whether it can be independently examined? Scientific dating and analysis. What exact tests were done? Tell us, was there radiocarbon dating of the parchment or ink? Is there paleography? Is there material analysis of wax and resin? On many of the not all of the documentaries, but there have been quite a few documentaries where you get this information so you can fact check it and validate it. What about lab names and reports? Which lab did the dating? What's the margin of error? Is the report publicly available? Is the claim date even realistic? Given the lab results. So they said it was discovered 30 AD. So possibly before he died or went to trial. Let's see. Textual and historical questions we could ask. Okay. Where is the published transcription and translation? Have independent experts in Aramaic and early Christianity reviewed it? Does the language and handwriting match first century Palestinian Aramaic? Does any reputable scholar endorse the claim that Jesus wrote this letter? Because I've heard right away, I realized right away, I was like, yo, what are you going to provide to support this information? If this is the first letter, only letter, how do you verify or validate that this is from Jesus if we don't have any handwriting proof? So I would need more research done on that. And media and secondary claims. Is there any mainstream or specialist outlets reporting this? Biblical Archaeology Review, IAA, Times of Israel, Live Science, Major News, anything. They didn't provide any of this, by the way. Are there named experts, real and traceable? They provided some information, like they said some doctors, but I couldn't find. A preliminary search didn't come up with anything for the people that they named. Now, on the meta level, what evidence would falsify the claim? If no condition could ever prove the letter isn't from Jesus, it's not a historical claim, it's a story. Is this built on confusion with a real but different discovery? For example, the infancy Gospel of Thomas fragment. And did this video provide any proof or evidence? Now, here's what it asserts. Carbon dated to 3050 AD. Experts believe it may be written by Jesus and found near Mount Arbel. What it does not show, lab reports, data, margins of error, photos with catalog numbers traceable to real collection, names of real institutions, museums, universities, IA, etc., any paper, press release, or conference reference. So, the video provides no verifiable evidence, only an emotional cinematic narration. All right. Did they cite any sources? It named Dr. Elias Carmen, historian of Judean burial customs, Dr. Leor Safran, cultural historian, but they didn't provide like any visual like of these people and any information that they in fact said it. So that's a little sketchy to me, right? And it's no information provided in the description. So when I tried to trace them, I couldn't find any credible scholars in those exact specialities with those names, and no publications or institutional pages connected to this alleged discovery. And it never cites the journal article, excavation report, museum, like I said. So no proper sources are cited. The experts are name drops with no verifiable trail. The actual images, like a lot of the imagery, they borrow from other sources online. Now, I talked about some of the logical flaws. What about the fact checking? So there are 6 claims. Let's quickly go over those and then I'll conclude the video. Claim number 1. A 2,000-year-old Aramaic letter sealed in wax was found in a cave, blah, blah, blah. Check. Do we have any published excavation reports or official announcements of such a find? Nothing from what I've said before, okay? No recognized archaeological institutes or so on. Mount Arbel, by the way, is a archaeologically interesting region, but no reputable record of Jesus' authored letter found from there. So no evidence so far on that claim. Claim 2, experts, because that's what they'll say, experts think it was written by Jesus. But real textual attributions work by handwritten comparison. And like I said, if this is the first letter, how will we have a comparison, something to compare it with? Now, language and style analysis. So we need that as well as historical plausibility. Okay. So we have 0 peer-reviewed claims, and there's no information to support this. So unsupported and contradicted by current scholarship. All right. So it's contradicted by current scholarship. Claim number 3. Carbon dating shows 30 to 50 AD, but there's no lab report, no error bars, no sample numbers. All right, so real C14 dating is always reported with uncertainty, 95% confidence range. We have no such report in any credible venue. So unsubstantiated claim. Claim number 4. The scroll was intentionally concealed, wrapped, and sealed to keep it from being found. It's plausible that some ancient texts were hidden, but this is an interpretation, not directly observable fact, okay? So without context of the actual find, which we don't have currently, this is just storytelling. So the status for this claim, speculative narrative, but not independently checkable, okay? Claim number 5. Now they had Joe Rogan discuss this letter with a scholar of early Christianity, but they didn't provide the link to the video for that particular interview. So if I happen to come across that from Joe Rogan's channel, then I'll update this record, okay, with that information. But we do see multiple YouTube videos branded as JRE, and I've been continuing some investigation, but I decided to hurry up and get this video out. So I'll continue my investigation and update the record as I go. So at least one Christian forum user says the video is not by Christians and seems clickbaity. I find no independent confirmation from from Rogan's official channels or mainstream reporting that the platform that he performed a real scholar unveiling a letter written by Jesus. So out of context clip plus branding, because they showed Joe Rogan in the thumbnail, as I showed you. So obviously a lot of people are doing that, and for certain videos it really does make sense, but like this, it's questionable. Claim, the final claim, number 6. This letter changes everything about how we see Jesus. Even the best case, real first century letter convincingly attributed. Scholars would debate the authorship, because many of the authors of the Bible have not been able to be validated. So, and they were initially anonymous anyway, just later attributed to certain individuals as the author, which is also crazy when you begin to look into that. So, textual transmission, theological weight relative to existing sources, right now with no evidence, this is just pure hype. All right, so purely rhetorical. Now, for the objective epistemological analysis, what, how we know what we know, this is key, right? So you need number 1, type of evidence; 2, testimony versus publicly checkable data; 3, extraordinary claims and prior probability; 4, source comparison; 5, under determination and narrative. Okay, so from an epistemic standpoint, the rational position is this: treat the letter from Jesus found in a cave as unsubstantiated fiction, devotional myth, not as historical data. Okay, so all of that information I placed in here. Okay, so the everything that I just read is in this record, and like I said, the link to this record is in the description. Will be in the description. All right, so that wraps up this video from me. I'm gonna drop the mic right here. It's your man Ace. I hope I caught everything. Man, I'll be trying to do this off top, and man, to get things done, or I just won't get it done. But yeah, I think that just about covers it. So I'm gonna drop the mic right here. Till next video, I'm out.